I am a humble man.
If you feel you don't belong,
I won't say you should follow me.
you are welcome. You are loved. Join us, and we shall reach the promised plain.
I'm not boastful, and my chorus is more soulful.
One of joy, one lacking pain. We are the cult of us. I am aware.
Don't say it. I can see
You
it.
feel you don't belong.
I don't wanna. You don't need it. Once again, we are legion. What I'm needing. Don't say it. I can see it.
Join us.
I don't wanna. You don't
We
need
shall
it.
reach
Once
the
again,
promised
we are
plain.
legion.
One of joy, one lacking pain. We are the cult of Oz.
Hi. Well, I get to start this episode off with a bit of a brighter note than it was originally conceived on. It seems that the man who sounds like a car with a blown starter will not get to create his registry. So that is a bit of good news, at least for now. All right. So the title of tonight's episode has gone through a lot of different changes. I kind of liked America Built by Autism. But the original title for tonight's show was You Can't Cure the Blueprint. The World Runs on Autistic Minds. And I like that one. And so that's probably going to be what it gets listed as when we upload. But anyways, welcome, you gloriously wired weirdos. This is the Cult of Odd. It's a podcast where the world's glitches get decoded, one satirical scalpel at a time. I am your host, Odd, and tonight's episode may end up running a little bit longer than we normally have been. That's only because this one may need a little bit more time to simmer. So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to hit you with the thesis right out of the gate. If autism is a disease, then society is the side effect. You see, I am somewhere along the spectrum. I have ADHD and enough personality quirks. And I call them personality quirks, but they are very much autistic tendencies that make me who I am. All right? There are certain things that I have noticed as I've gotten older and as I've gotten better at understanding myself. There are certain things that are very clearly a part of it. And ADHD is somewhere along the autism spectrum, right? Our brains run differently. We're wired differently. I always said that ADHD people are kind of like overclocked computers, right? Like our processors just run faster. We've got, the ability to have 100 different tabs open, but the problem is 60 of them are frozen and we have no idea where the fuck the music is coming from. And that one is more true than I fucking like, because I've mentioned it before, but I have what I and my friend Rita call head FM, right? So at any given moment, at any given day, it's like someone takes their fucking thumb, right? And they put it on the radio dial, and they just rock that bitch back and forth endlessly. And every so often it stops briefly, and you'll hear a song, and then it'll roll again. Right? But that fucking song becomes an earworm until the next fucking thumb stop. Anyways. But my brain and how it functions or how it chooses not to function are what make me good at the things that I'm good at. And what we need to realize is that most of the innovations, most of the advances that have happened within our society, and I'm not just talking about here in America, but I'm talking in the world in general, have been people who people who have spicy brains. I don't know why that's not working. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix that for you real quick. All right, let's see if I can make it work. I don't know why this. Oh, you know what? I think I know why. I think I've turned the sounds off. I don't know. I'm not getting the normal bloop that I get. Hello, Strawberry. I'm not getting the normal bloops that I would get. So if I'm a little slow on the chat tonight, it's because it was a long day this week. Anyways, but yeah, so like my brain is a little spicy, and it makes life interesting, to say the least. But as I said, the thesis of this episode is if autism is a disease, then society is the side effect. And that's right, the very minds the modern world is now saying need to be corrected are the same type of minds that built it. The so-called broken blueprints. They're the ones that rewrote the damn code of human progress. When I heard RFK Jr. saying that autism is a disease and that it needs to be cured and that he wants to create a registry of people, my blood began to boil. Aw, thank you for the Prime sub, Sim. I am tired of myself and everyone else I know and I love being considered fair fucking game and an open target. By people who haven't read a book more complex than The Cat in the Hat. You see, even the thing, like everything's broken and I don't know why. And it's gonna bother me. See, this is what's gonna make the fucking episode longer. Is that everything is broken currently and I have to fix everything. Because, God forbid, settings just stay fucking set. Okay. I hate technology because it never fucking works when it's supposed to. Yeah, if it ain't broke, then it's not an episode of The Cult of Odd. None of that shit wants to work. I don't know why. Oh, well, that worked. And I heard noise. Okay. Sorry.
I immediately regret this decision.
Fuck us, be autistic. That's right. That's exactly what this is. It's fixing it. There was a problem, and I needed to solve it. And that's the thing, though, right? Like, that's it. That's the fucking point of it. Right? People saw things that, were problems, and they wanted to fix them. They wanted solutions to whatever it was. People got fucking tired of smelling horse shit, and they still needed to get long distances. And they were like, you know what? What if we took away the horse? Right? The whole reason arrows were created is because some guy had a knife and was like, man, I really want to stab that guy all the way over there. That's not actually the reason arrows were created. Okay, God. All right. We're supposed to be trying to teach people stuff. And, okay. Anyways, I got some of it fixed. I'm happy. Some of it's fixed. I'm not happy. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's going to bother me, but I'm going to keep pressing on. All right, so tonight we're tearing into history, the hypocrisy, the hot mess of policies that treat the neurodivergent like a bug in the system when really it's the foundation under their feet. I'm still thinking about it. Because I know stuff. This fits right now. That's me internally. So the blueprint, a history of neurodivergent brilliance. Let's roll back the reel, okay? Let's talk Einstein, who barely spoke as a child and was labeled as slow. Nikola Tesla, who could visualize complex mechanical inventions in 3D with no prototypes. Howard Hughes, a paranoid perfectionist who reshaped aviation. Marie Curie, who was obsessed, like ferociously obsessed with radiation and ended up paying the price for it. Here's the... and we can't forget Temple Grandin, a woman whose brain was deemed deficient and who went on to redesign the cattle industry. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of these historical legends would have been flagged by school counselors today. They would have been slapped with labels. They would have been shoved into intervention programs. Right? Like, they would have tried to correct what they saw as a problem. Hell, they even Temple Grandin, especially, like she's far enough into history, right, in the school systems and stuff like that, where they did look at people who were a little different. The only reason she got as far as she did is because she was smart. She could advocate for herself. And she was very vocal about advocating for herself. But the way they look at things, and the way I was looked at it in school, is essentially down to the line of Johnny doesn't make eye contact. He talks too much about trains. He won't stop correcting people. Modern society wants your kids to mask. And for those of you that are watching that have no idea what that word means, masking is the act of presenting as normal when every bit of you inside is like that fucking SpongeBob scream. Because it's not normal, right? Like it's you're having to fit into society in a way that you were never wired to fit in. And I know there are some people out there who be like, well, everybody has to do it. It's just a fact of life. It's just the way it is. No. No, it's not. We are trying to live our lives and be comfortable the same as everyone else, and it makes it difficult at times. And there are people that are far worse off when it comes to autism, because that's the thing too, is like that's one thing that I want you all to remember too, is like there are a small subsect of autistic people who will only probably live as normal a life as possible. Granted, they're not all the brilliant, mathematicians and innovators and whatnot. There are some that life really is going to be difficult. They are going to need lifelong care. However, that does not make them less than in any way, shape, or form. That does not mean that there's something in them that needs to be cured. Because there are parents that are taking care of their children and trying to raise them and keep them safe and make them feel as loved as they can possibly feel in a society who is currently telling all of them that you need to go to a focus camp. That's all we need. We just need to make you focus. Maybe, you want to set up a tent over summer, try to learn some concentration. Do you get what I'm saying? The proposal has been made to set up wellness camps. The suggestion has been floated that maybe all of the people who have a mental illness or who are autistic should maybe go to these wellness camps. The word concentration is pretty innocuous until you pair it with the word camp. Do you understand? Because I think a lot of you out there hear what is being said and don't give it a second thought. Now, I know the fellows and the ladies that listen to the Cultivad, all of my followers, I know for the most part, every single one of you has a good head on your shoulders. That's why you're here. That's why you're a part of us. You are one of us. But for the casual listener who stumbles upon this and who may not necessarily understand what I'm talking about, please, I implore you, stick around and try to understand. Put away all your preconceived notions, put away all the pretenses and everything, put away everything society has taught you up to this point. Be open to hearing another side of things. And do what any rational human being is supposed to do when presented with new information that may contradict the already established belief structure. And that is critically analyze it without bias. More than likely, there is someone that you know that has a family member who is autistic. Now, whether or not you know it to be autistic or you know it as a behavioral issue, that's neither here nor there. Trying to exist in the world when I was a kid was very difficult. My brain worked in ways that did not. Hello, Motor City. Hello, Mr. Brown. Trying to navigate life when I was younger was a minefield. I didn't think like everybody else. I didn't talk like everybody else. I didn't see things the way everybody else did. If I had a question, I would ask it. But the problem is I don't like not getting an answer. And because I was a very intelligent child, because I said so, or it's just the way it is, was a non-answer to me. Pulling rank on me and saying, I'm the parent, I make the rules, does not matter when I'm presenting you with a logical questioning of your motives and decisions. I don't give a shit if you don't feel that you should have to explain yourself to a child. Give a real answer. And so that's one of the things that really sticks out is like I'm still like that to this day. And it would aggravate me to no end. I was super into, I still am for the most part. Like when I found technology, it in my brain just clicked. I knew how to do things that, I shouldn't have. Even to this day, I understand things at a level that most people don't. It doesn't take me long to take in information if I'm truly interested in it. And because there was so much that I was interested in, I took in a lot of information. I don't like to be bothered when I'm in the middle of something. And I know everyone can say that. Well, nobody likes to be bothered. No, there is a very loud and aggressive reaction if you try to pull me out of the thing that I'm doing. So we got off on a tangent there because I was explaining what masking was. I had to mask a lot. And it didn't work because the mask would crack often. So let's talk about Temple Grandin. Temple Grandin walked the cattle chutes so we could rethink the system. Diagnosed in the 1950s at a time when girls on the spectrum were often institutionalized, she forged a path no one else saw. She designed curved livestock chutes based on how animals perceive movement and stress. Her designs were about dignity and minimizing panic. Today, over half the cattle in the U.S. are processed through the systems she built. That's not accommodation, that's architecture. And yet, Temple Grandin's brain would still be considered a disordered mess by every by every insurance company and school administrator in this country. Society doesn't like the squeaky wheels. There's a biopic about Temple Grandin. And of course, with every biopic, you have to take what you see with a grain of salt because, you know, it's Hollywood and they have to zhuzh things up for the film sake of it. But like the pushback that she got just for being a woman, never mind the fact that she thought and saw things others could not begin to perceive or even understand how someone else could begin to perceive. But yet she revolutionized an industry that needed it. See, the reason why it wasn't even so much necessarily about dignity. There was a high level of dignity to it. But the minimizing panic thing is the big part of it. Temple Grandin knew that there was a number of cattle, like a percentage of cattle, that was lost due to the panic. She understood how cows thought, I guess is the best way to go about it. What? There seems to be... oh, okay, cool. I don't have to go that far then. That makes it cool. She understood how cows saw things and played into that. They played into their natural movements, their natural instincts, and severely reduced the amount of product that was lost by creating systems for that. She saved these ranchers and the cattle industry itself probably tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the long run. Billions, probably trillions, honestly. Because they said over the half the cattle in the U.S. are processed through a system she built. And that was in the 50s, right? Half a century later, we're still using systems that she designed. Autistic people see the world differently. And it doesn't matter whether you're the genius type of autistic or the type of autistic that does struggle. They see the world differently. They process the world differently. And their capacity to process the world differs. I don't think that it's a disorder. And I've argued this for a while. I don't think ADHD is a disorder either. I think it's just a different brain chemistry. I do believe in some instances it could be very well considered an evolutionary jump. Got to remember, the human body has not had any major changes that we're aware of in a very long time. And I do not think that cases of autism are on the rise. It's a misnomer to say that. But I think we've gotten better at identifying it. And I think we've gotten more open about talking about it. Now we just need to get to a point where we're more accepting of it. And for compared to where we were to where we are now, we are. But we still have a long way to go. What I don't understand, when you get on news, when you get on the television as a appointee of a supposedly elected representative, and you tell a large majority of the nation that they or their family members or their loved ones are diseased, how do you expect them to take that? Right? You're talking about people's kids. You're talking about people's siblings, aunts, uncles, hell, mothers, fathers, probably grandparents too. They just won't admit it because, you know. Fucking RFK Jr.'s own, what was it? Aunt? I think, yeah, aunt was put away. To get well. There's a lot of things in this country, and we're going to talk about a few more of them here in a minute. There are a lot of things in this country, this society that we live in, that we would not have if it weren't for the individuals that they're trying to say they need to erase. Temple Grandin is but one instance. He going to talk about rewriting the narrative. These people weren't exceptions. They were the standard. Well, let's get one thing clear. Grandin, Einstein, Tesla, they weren't outliers in the neurodivergent community. They're just the ones history couldn't ignore. Most autistic adults today weren't given laboratories or lecture halls. They were given behavioral charts, a token system, forced eye contact, quiet hands. We buried brilliance under compliance. You know what high functioning often means? It means you make other people comfortable with while falling apart internally. You know what low functioning means? You make other people uncomfortable and we don't know what to do with that. Let's toss the functioning labels. Neurodivergence isn't a spectrum from less to more. It's a color wheel. It's gradients. No one part is better or less than the other. And we do that with so many things in this world. Right? I've mentioned this before. There's so much versusism. Right? Or whataboutism. Right? That's the one, right? Like, so, okay. Take, for example, student loans. There's been a huge push for student loans to be forgiven. But then you get the people, well, what about the ones who already paid off their student loans? Okay. What about them? Well, don't you think it's unfair? Maybe a little, but they should have pushed harder to get to this point. I don't know, man. Like, I went to the store on Saturday and got a 12-pack of Coke for $12.99. You went to the store on Tuesday and got that same 12-pack of Coke for $24. I caught the sale. You didn't. It sucks. But are you really going to throw a huge fit about it? Are you going to go back to the store and demand that they give you that for that sale price that you missed? And the worst part is I know there's some of you out there that would. There are some of you out there that would be that person. Let's talk the cure agenda, or how the state pathologizes minds it can't control. Let's talk about how this plays out now. Governments, particularly the U.S., are now treating autism like a public health crisis. You know the signs: increased funding for early intervention, the push for genetic screening, the language of burden and prevention. Autism doesn't cost society. Society costs autistic people. It costs their time, their energy, their dignity, their safety, and access. And now they want to erase the future generation before it even fucking arrives. Now, I want you all to take a minute, because I know damn well there's someone in your life that is on that color wheel. Someone that you love, someone that you care about. Are you really willing to open your door to authorities to let them drag that person from their home and put them in some sort of wellness camp? Really think about that for a minute. Take away the fact that it was autism, right? Exactly. No fucking way. Now take away the fact that it's autism. I don't know. What if they decided they didn't like people who had red hair? Red hair was a disease. Red hair needed to be cured. It doesn't matter if you dye your hair to look normal, you're still a redhead. And they drag you out. Some arbitrary thing. Any arbitrary thing can become a problem. And some fascist dictator can come along and help enforce the endangerment of those who embody the arbitrary thing. It affects more of them than they think, though. Strawberry Shortcake said people want to ignore it right now because it doesn't affect them. It affects more of them than they think. They just don't realize it yet. You see, because if they get their way and they want to do this registry, right? Any behavioral quirk that has been registered against you could be taken out of context. What if you're not that much of a boon for society, right? What if you don't make enough? What if you don't pay enough in taxes? What if they look at you, do a cost analysis on you and realize you specifically, you're one of the ones that are costing the country money? Well, it just so happens in this report here that it looks like that he spit on his teacher in 3rd grade. And you know what? That's enough. We've already seen they don't give a shit about due process, right? We've already seen they're willing to fabricate evidence and present it as fact. Because that wellness camp idea, yeah, that's not too far off from that terrorist prison that they're using right now. We're in a very scary spot in history. And it seems like the people in power feel that things have progressed enough and they just want to keep it where it is. We don't need any more innovation. We don't need any more intelligence. In fact, what we need is less intelligence. A dumb society is an easily controlled society, supposedly. Dumb, docile, and complacent. That's what they're trying for. That's what they want. They want happy, mindless little drones willing to lick boots and turn gears and not make a peep. To be happy with the table scraps that they are given. To be happy living in a 6x8 room that is provided by the company, along with 3 gruel meals a day that is also provided by the company. In fact, you never have to leave work. That's what they want. They want you happy, or not happy. They want you dumb, docile, and complacent. And people, like we're talking about tonight, that's not them at all. Because if you push them, they fight back. Like everybody else. Well, most everybody else. Autism is not a problem. How we as society perceive it is the problem. How we approach it is the problem. And our lack of acceptance of it is the problem. You go back and you read through history. And you read about some of the more interesting facts about the pinnacle points, the tent poles of people in history. And you start to realize that they got some quirks. Right? The old wives' tale about George Washington never being able to tell a lie. What do you think? Most of the autistic people I know are pretty fucking truthful. Brutally so. You hear stories about Abraham Lincoln, who was chronically depressed. Well, that's a mental illness. But he still ran the country and got us through some pretty rough times. The personality quirks of each individual who is responsible for the civilization and society that we live in currently could all come under fire. And like I said earlier, I don't believe that there is an autism epidemic on the rise. What I believe is that we've gotten better at identifying it through testing and research and study. And honestly, what I believe that you may eventually find is that this is the way we are supposed to be. And the quote unquote neurotypical people, they may be the wrong ones. Because think about it, right? You know how everybody sits there and goes, man, I wonder who was the first person that was like, that cow sure is suckling at that thing under, or that baby cow sure is suckling at that thing underneath that cow. I wonder if I could drink what comes out of it. That's not a normal thought. Right? Like, I'm worried about microscopic things within something. Let me fix that. Innovation is driven by minds that don't think like everyone else. Every invention, every adaptation has been because of a mind that was just a little bit different than everybody else. So when I say that autism doesn't cost society, that society costs autistic people, when I point out that it costs the time, the energy, the dignity, the safety, and the access, we need not kid ourselves, because this isn't about support, it's about control. They don't want to help make things better. They want control. And because autistic minds don't conform, they don't fall in line, they challenge logic, they question norms, and they break systems that weren't made for them. And I'm going to tell you, and this may not be that big of a secret, but that scares the living shit out of the people who rely on compliance to stay in power. Free your mind and your ass will follow. And that is the worst thing those in power could hear come out of society's mouth. RFK Jr. has his head squarely up his ass. It is so far up there, it is coming around for a second pass. Now, I talked to a few people about this episode. I am fortunate enough to be surrounded by some amazing and brilliant individuals. And there are listeners that do reach out. And I wanted to share this. This person said, I spent my childhood thinking I was broken because I stimmed in class. I'm 32 now. I still stim. And I've designed components for different machinery that has helped so many people. I mask hard at work. I forget how to talk when I get home. They told my son he was too focused on insects. He's now a PhD candidate in entomology and published his first paper at 19. We need to remember to be gentle to ourselves and to those around us. And just because someone wasn't gentle to you today doesn't mean you can't be gentle to yourself or to someone else. The world is a hard, terrible, and scary place. And we don't need to make it any worse for anyone else or ourselves. Now, I want you to remember, though, that this world runs on neurodivergence. Look around your world right now. Your phone, your internet, your GPS, your coffee maker, your AI assistant. All touched, shaped, and fully invented by neurodivergent minds. If we erase those brains from history, we wouldn't be 100 years behind. We'd be extinct. Currently, the administration is worried about a low birth rate, right? They're currently trying to convince people to have babies. How do we get them to have babies? How do we get them to have more children? But the thing that's going to kill us is removing our access to the intelligent, free-thinking individuals that are going to save us from ourselves. I have pointed this out numerous times over the years on the previous incarnations of the show, too. I think I've said it once or twice even in this incarnation of the show. See, for those of you that may be just joining me for the first time, you've stumbled in or stumbled upon me, I've been at this since 2007. I've had many different show titles over the years, and the show has evolved and changed and grown and shrank and all sorts of other things over the course of time. Originally, we started as Mad World, then we added the word radio in because 3 names sounded better to me. And so we became Mad World Radio. And ever since I started, every so often a conversation would come up and it would lead me to this thought. Where are our great thinkers? Where are they? Right? You read through history, and history is rife, littered with painters and artists of all sorts and inventors and mathematicians, and they're everywhere till a certain point. Where's our Tesla? Where's our Temple Grandin? Where's our Einstein? Where's our Howard Hughes? And if any of you motherfuckers say Elon Musk, you can get the fuck out. I will acknowledge the fact that he is exactly what I'm talking about today, but fuck that guy. Yes, Levi, I'm fully aware that your autism is tremors. But we will be shooting ourselves in our own foots if we don't stand up and defend the neurodivergent minds. You might not be wrong there, Levi. They said we need a UBI to bring forth autistic greatness. You could be right. We could move into a world. See, that's the thing. We have enough. We don't need wage slaves. We don't need people to slave away and grind away. We have enough. The problem is everything we have rests in the hands of a few. And somehow those few have convinced the folks that are like in between the have-nots and the have, that the have-nots are the fucking problem. Right? Human rights, in my mind, is you should not have to worry about housing, food, water, healthcare. These are things that we need to be a human. And America has become nothing more than a pyramid scheme in a sense, right? Like, you have a few at the top that are benefiting from everyone at the bottom. And it's all going up. See, we were sold on the idea that it's okay, it'll all go up, but it'll trickle back down. You'll barely even notice it. You're right. We do barely notice any trickle down. I'd say mist at best. But often it feels more like a fucking hot steam. And they want to keep it. And they feel that the only way to keep themselves in power and to keep the power is to eradicate those that may cause a problem to their way of life. Oh, I don't want to have to see a disabled person sitting at a restaurant having dinner. That makes me uncomfortable. That makes me feel bad that I have so much. Get rid of them. And of course, some lackey, right away, yes, 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 and then ushers out the fucking disabled person. I don't like the way that that cashier counted my coupons. They did so in a way that is foreign to me. Get them out of here. That person makes 3 cents less than I do. Get him out of here. Right? Like there's this fucking mentality, this goddamn thought process that there has to be someone less than Otherwise, my position doesn't feel good, right? We have to be snuffing someone else's flame because we believe doing so will make ours shine brighter. And you can tell these people have never been in a blackout. Because one flame burning bright, burning, is not going to light up a whole room. You need hundreds of candles to light up the room that we're all in. Thousands, even millions. Especially if they're the little tea lights. You can't make yourself shine brighter by dimming someone else. But yet they will try at every turn. You know, I've mentioned this before too. I believe the whole reason that they are against gay people and trans individuals, and Levi and I have had this conversation, I believe it's not just fear, but it's jealousy. How dare they live their life how they see fit? How dare they be happy? How dare they find peace within themselves when I can't? And instead of looking inward and finding how to locate that peace, how to locate that happiness, how to locate that comfortability with themselves, they would rather admonish someone who's found it. Because it's far easier to shit on someone else than it is to do the work yourself. And these autistic kids, these autistic adults, we may not necessarily have inner peace. It's pretty much like a bunch of fucking squirrels on cocaine inside here most days. But I'm okay with who I am. It's taken me so many years to get to a point where I can truly say, I am okay with who I am. I'm better than I was, and I still have a long way to go. But for the first time in, God, I don't know how long, I'm pretty sure I'm going to make it. Now, I don't know what's at the end of the road. I'm 42 years old, encroaching in on 43. Realistically, I've got maybe 30 years left, and I have no idea what those 30 years are going to bring. But I think for the most part, I'm going to be okay. Because I like me. I understand how I have to navigate myself and how I have to position myself within the world to navigate it. And when you hit that point, you become a problem for the status quo. And I know that there are a ton of autistic people who are still trying to find their way, and they don't need the bullshit coming out of our politicians that is telling them that they are any kind of less than, that they are any kind of diseased, that they need to be cured. No. No, not at all. They don't need to be cured. They need understanding and compassion and empathy. They need education, not for themselves, but for everyone around them. I've told you before, I'll never say who I work for, and I'll always be fairly vague about what I do. But my job puts me in direct line with being able to work with parents whose kids have learning differences. And I will tell you that those people that I work with are some of the ones that I go the extra mile for. And it's not just the extra mile, it's the extra 10, 20, 30, 40 miles. I tell parents this all the time when I'm on the phone with them. I understand that society refuses to provide the support that you need. I understand that the education system will consistently let you down. And that is why I make sure that I do everything in my power so that you feel, for once, you have a support system. And you have no idea how much joy that I hear on the other end of the phone. How much relief can be heard in someone's voice. I have had parents, and I say parents because it's been both men and women, that I have heard their voice break after I tell them that. Because they're so grateful that someone, anyone, is finally willing to give a shit. Is finally willing to see them, to hear them, to understand their struggles. And that genuinely wants to help. So I'm sure you're asking yourself, what comes next? Do we get a neurodivergent utopia for the future? Or do we get a sanitized dystopia? And here's the fork in the road. We either embrace neurodiversity as the engine of innovation and empathy, or we let capitalism and conformity pathologize us out of existence. We either build a room with STEM room, or we build a world with STEM rooms, flexible work schedules, nonverbal accessibility, creative thinking support, or we end up with labs trying to edit curiosity and invention out of the gene pool. This isn't just about autism. This is about what kind of humanity we want moving forward. Since the show started back up, I have been screaming human first. I don't care what label you want to put on after that, but god damn it, we are fucking human first, and that should be the focus. If we put half as much fucking energy into taking care of ourselves as we did about preening and posturing for fucking social media, do you realize what we could accomplish? If we would all just stop trying to be the next whoever and just be happy with being the first you. Do you realize how much better off we would be? But no. Nope. That's not what we're about. We've lost focus long, long ago, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And I don't think we ever truly had the focus that we needed. I'm really hoping it's something that society will mature into. I'm hoping that somewhere along the way, we stop looking at our differences as weird. Stop looking at them as something that needs to be removed. But we start looking at things as, oh man, you're kind of awesome. Do I want to sit and listen to you talk about trains for the next 45 minutes to an hour? Not really, but am I gonna? Yes, because I can see that you're passionate about it and that you love it. I'm not going to retain any of the information that you tell me. I don't know which boxcar has this kind of rivets and which fucking train car has that kind of seating. But you know what? You're going to tell me, and I'm going to love every minute of it because it's something that you love and you're passionate about. And we've made a lot of broad, sweeping generalizations, and I will admit that. But this was a conversation starter. You fill in the blanks. Now, everything that I see on social media when it comes to getting engagements says you have to have a call to action. So this is my call to action for you. Tell me your story. You can email me at cultivad@gmail.com. If you don't want to be public, just say so. But tell me your story. Because like I said, I know there were a lot of broad, sweeping generalizations tonight. But it's a conversation starter. And it's now on you. Because if you're neurodivergent, whether you've got a diagnosis or just a deep suspicion, I want you to know you're not broken. You're the fucking blueprint. And you need to be proud of that. Be the blueprint. Show them. Show them how it's supposed to be built. Thank you for joining me tonight. Again, conversation starter. Ball is in your court. Cultivad@gmail.com. Send me your story. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.